It was the last day of school, and the students of Hillcrest High were buzzing with excitement. The summer loomed ahead like a promise, full of freedom and adventure. For most, it was just another day to coast through before they could finally escape the drudgery of textbooks and teachers. But for a few, it would be a day they'd never forget. The school had always been a little odd, with its creaky floors and ancient flickering lights, but the students were used to it. The one place they avoided was the old, forgotten basement, sealed off years ago after a mysterious accident. No one knew what happened down there, but the stories circulated, of shadows that moved on their own and whispers in the dark. Despite the warnings, a group of friends decided to spend their last day of school exploring the forbidden basement. Jake, the ringleader, was known for his daredevil antics. Lisa, his best friend, was anxious but unwilling to let Jake down. The others, Mike, Sarah and Emma, had their own reasons for joining, but curiosity and the thrill of the forbidden were the strongest. As the final bell rang, the halls emptied rapidly. The group met in the dimly lit corridor leading to the basement door, a rusted metal slab with a heavy padlock that had long since been discarded. Jake grinned and pulled out a crowbar from his backpack, and with a few grunts, the door creaked open. Descending into the darkness, they lit their flashlights, the beams cutting through the thick blackness. The basement was colder than they expected, the air heavy with dust and the faint smell of decay. Old school furniture and forgotten equipment were strewn about, covered in cobwebs. The walls were lined with old, peeling paint and strange, unidentifiable stains. Sarah shivered and clung to Mike, her flashlight flickering nervously. "This place gives me the creeps. It's just an old basement," Jake said, though even he couldn't shake the sense of unease. They ventured deeper, their lights casting eerie shadows that danced and twisted. As they turned a corner, they found an old classroom, long abandoned. The desks were overturned, and a thick layer of dust covered everything. But what caught their attention was a large, ornate mirror hanging on the wall, its glass cracked and tarnished. Emma approached the mirror. "Look at this, it's so old-fashioned." "Probably a prop from a play or something," Lisa said, though she couldn't quite meet Emma's eyes. As Emma inspected the mirror, a strange chill filled the room. The others watched as Emma's reflection began to move independently of her, mimicking her every move, but with a slight delay. Suddenly, the reflection's eyes darted to the side, staring at something beyond the glass. Emma turned around, but there was nothing there. "Guys, I don't like this," she said, her voice trembling. Before anyone could respond, the temperature plummeted, their breaths forming misty clouds in the freezing air. The mirror's surface began to ripple like disturbed water. Shadows started to emerge, swirling around the room, converging on the mirror. A low guttural whisper echoed through the basement. The shadows coalesced into a figure, an indistinct dark form that seemed to writhe and shift. Panic set in as the figure grew more defined, a twisted parody of a person with hollow eyes and a gaping mouth. "Run!" Jake shouted, his bravado crumbling. They turned to flee, but the basement seemed to stretch endlessly, the walls closing in, the path twisting into a maze of dark corridors. As they stumbled through the darkness, the whispers grew louder, filling their heads with incoherent murmurs and terrifying visions. The figure from the mirror was now everywhere, its presence felt in every corner of the labyrinth. In their frantic rush, they lost each other. The darkness pressed in, and one by one, the friends disappeared into the shadows, their cries echoing through the cold, oppressive air. When the janitor arrived the next morning to clean up, he found the basement door ajar. The lights flickered weakly, casting ghostly shadows. The old mirror was shattered, its fragments scattered across the floor. But the basement was empty, save for a cold, lingering presence that seemed to whisper in the silence. Hillcrest High would be closed for repairs over the summer, and the basement would be sealed off once more. But as the new school year approached, students began to talk about the new hauntings in the halls and the stories of the missing friends, who, it was said, had been claimed by the mirror and now roamed the darkened corners of the school, their voices mingling with the whispers of those who dared to enter. And every so often, a cold draught would sweep through the hallways, carrying with it a faint, mournful whisper, "Help us,